Good evening and welcome to Kenya News Update today. I'm your host, and we're diving deep into a remarkable piece of football history made this weekend in the English Premier League. Chelsea's Cole Palmer has achieved something no player has ever done before in the Premier League era, scoring three first-half hat tricks. That's right, three separate matches where he's netted 3 goals before halftime. This isn't just a hot streak. It's a statistical anomaly that has analysts, fans, and pundits debating what it truly means. Is Palmer a generational talent finally arriving, or is this a flash in the pan amplified by Chelsea's unique circumstances? Over the next 12 minutes, we'll unpack this historic feat, examine the numbers behind it, and hear contrasting perspectives on its significance for Chelsea, England, and the global football landscape. First, let's set the scene with the record-breaking moment itself. This past Saturday at Molineux Stadium, Chelsea faced Wolverhampton Wanderers. The match was poised to be a tight contest, but within the opening 45 minutes, Cole Palmer single-handedly decided it. He scored in the 13th minute, again in the 23rd, and completed his hat trick just before the break in the 45th minute. Chelsea won 3-1, with all their goals coming from one player in one half. This marked Palmer's third first-half hat trick of the season. To put that in perspective, the Premier League has existed for over 30 years, featuring legends like Alan Shearer, Thierry Henry, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Sergio Aguero. None of them ever managed to score 3 goals before halftime in 3 different matches. Palmer has now done it against Manchester United, Everton, and now Wolves. The sheer speed and concentration required for such an achievement are staggering. Let's look at the raw numbers that define this record. First, the foundational statistic, 3 first-half hat tricks. This is the core of the historic claim, but we need to break down what that entails. Each hat trick requires 3 goals, so across these 3 specific matches, Palmer has scored 9 first-half goals. That's 9 goals in just 135 minutes of football, if we consider only the first halves of those games. That's a goal every 15 minutes in those periods. Now, let's contrast that with his overall season. Cole Palmer has played 2,450 minutes in the Premier League this season. His total goal tally stands at 22. This means that a staggering 41% of his entire league goal output this campaign has come in these 3 explosive first-half performances. Nearly half of his goals are clustered into these historic bursts. This creates a fascinating statistical profile. Is he consistently good, or is he spectacularly explosive in short windows? The debate begins here. To understand the rarity, we must look at history. Before Palmer, only a handful of players had ever scored 2 first-half hat tricks in the Premier League. The list includes icons like Robbie Fowler and Mohamed Salah. But the jump from 2 to 3 is a chasm no one had crossed. Think of the variables. You need to be in a team creating chances early. You need to be the designated penalty taker for potential spot kicks. You need the clinical finishing to convert limited opportunities. And you need the fortune to have this perfect storm happen not once, not twice, but 3 times in a single season. The probability is incredibly low. Furthermore, Palmer's hat tricks have all come in away matches. At Old Trafford against Manchester United, at Goodison Park against Everton, and at Molineux against Wolves. Scoring freely at hostile grounds adds another layer of difficulty to this accomplishment. It speaks to a mental fortitude that belies his age. Now, let's introduce our first perspective, the case for Cole Palmer as a bona fide superstar. Proponents of this view argue that this record is not a fluke, but the logical culmination of his immense talent. They point to his underlying metrics. Beyond the hat tricks, Palmer leads the Premier League in several key attacking categories. He has the most goal contributions this season, with 22 goals and 10 assists, totaling 32. He has created 95 chances for his teammates. His conversion rate on shots on target is an impressive 38%. These aren't the numbers of a lucky player. They are the numbers of an elite playmaker and finisher. The hat tricks in this view are simply the most visible peaks of a consistently high mountain range. His technical ability, his two-footedness, and his ice-cool composure, especially from the penalty spot, are traits of a world-class operator. At just 22 years old, he is the focal point of a Chelsea team that, despite its inconsistencies, sits in a European qualification place largely due to his contributions. For England, he's now considered a guaranteed starter for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. This record solidifies his status as the most informed English attacker in the world. However, a counter perspective exists, one that urges caution amidst the hype. Skeptics argue that this record, while impressive, highlights an inconsistency rather than a sustained dominance. They point to the very statistic we mentioned earlier, 41% of his goals coming in 3 halves. What about the other 35 halves of football he's played? In those, he scored 13 goals, a respectable return but not otherworldly. The argument is that Palmer can sometimes disappear in games, and Chelsea's chaotic, open style under Mauricio Pochettino creates perfect conditions for these goal avalanches. The team often falls behind, leaving space for counterattacks, and Palmer is the designated beneficiary. Furthermore, of his 9 first-half hat-trick goals, 3 have been penalties. This isn't to diminish penalty scoring, but it does factor into the analysis. A penalty is a high-probability chance. So, the skeptics ask, is this record a product of a perfect alignment of team style, set responsibilities, and occasional hot finishing, rather than a sustained, week-in, week-out dominance that defines true legends? They compare him to Erling Haaland at Manchester City, who scores relentlessly across all minutes of matches, not just in concentrated bursts. Let's visualize a key comparison to fuel this debate. Consider Palmer's goal distribution. We have his 9 first-half hat-trick goals. Then we have his other 13 league goals spread across the season. And finally, let's take a benchmark, the Premier League's current top scorer, let's say Erling Haaland for argument's sake, and his goal distribution. Haaland's goals are far more evenly distributed across match minutes. He doesn't have such pronounced clusters. This graphical comparison shows 2 different models of excellence, the explosive sprinter versus the relentless marathon runner. Which is more valuable for a team with title aspirations? History suggests the latter, but Palmer's model is rewriting some of the rules. Another angle to this story is its significance for Chelsea Football Club. After a period of massive spending and underwhelming results, Palmer has emerged as the unequivocal success story of their new project. He was signed from Manchester City for a fee of £40 million, which now looks like a bargain. He has directly contributed to 22 of Chelsea's 65 league points this season, based on points earned in games where he scored or assisted. That's 34% of their total points. He is their designated penalty taker, their chief creator, and their emotional leader on the pitch. This record adds a layer of prestige and marketability to the club. Gives fans a genuine hero to rally around. In a season where consistency has been elusive, Palmer's historic moments provide unforgettable highlights and a foundation to build upon. For the club's American ownership, led by Todd Boehly, Palmer is the validation of their data-driven recruitment model. He was identified as a high-potential player who could thrive with increased responsibility, and the bet has paid off spectacularly. From a Kenyan and global fan perspective, what does this mean? Records like this capture the imagination. They become trivia questions for decades to come. Who was the first player to score 3 first-half hat tricks in the Premier League? The answer, Cole Palmer. It elevates a player from being merely excellent to being a permanent part of the competition's folklore. For young footballers watching in Nairobi, Mombasa, or Kisumu, it demonstrates the power of self-belief and seizing the moment. Palmer left the comfort of Manchester City, where minutes were limited, for the pressure of Chelsea, and has exploded. It's a narrative of ambition rewarded. Furthermore, in an era where football analytics are more sophisticated than ever, this record is a beautiful reminder that magic and statistical outliers still exist. The numbers can predict probability, but they cannot predict the moment when a player enters a state of pure, unstoppable flow. Palmer has found that zone 3 times in one season. Looking ahead, the questions are compelling. Can Palmer carry this form into the next season? Can he translate these explosive club performances into consistent excellence for the England national team, especially with the 2026 World Cup on the horizon? Will other teams find a way to nullify him in the first half, knowing his record? And perhaps most intriguingly, does this record change how we evaluate a striker's season? Should we value peak performance more highly than consistent output? The debate will rage on. What is undeniable is that on February 8, 2026, Cole Palmer has etched his name into the Premier League history books with a unique and dazzling record. It's a story of precision, timing, and a young man playing with the confidence of a veteran. Whether you see him as the new face of English football or a brilliant flashpoint in a long season, you cannot look away. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. A historic weekend in football gives us plenty to discuss. What's your take? Is Cole Palmer's record a sign of true greatness or a statistical curiosity? Let us know in the comments below. For more in-depth analysis on stories from the world of sports, politics, and beyond, remember to subscribe to Kenya News Update today. Thank you for watching, and good night.